I'm going to call this meeting to order. If, as you are able and willing, please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. We do not have anyone here this evening who has asked to address the board, so we'll move into the report of the secretary. May I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of our last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024.
I'll second, Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. Yep, excellent as always. Yep. I saw no issues. Anybody else? Further comment or question? All in favor? Okay, that's 6-0. Thank you. That brings us to the report of the chair. The town officials meeting we were scheduled to have on January 10th didn't happen because of one of the bouts of weather we had recently, so we'll look forward to the next one in February. I'll mention briefly that just prior to the start of this meeting, the board conducted a public workshop on the topic of budget priorities, and our superintendent will give us an update on that in his report, which concludes my report and brings us to his.
Thank you very much. We are lucky enough to have our counseling center with us today. Mr. Hooptrick, do you want to give us a little bit of a lead in?
They're worried about what I'll say. As you know, we kind of transformed this particular space here, which was the Learning Center, into our Career Center. And we revamped a little bit of our counseling department in regards to having one of our counselors really work with our students in regards to getting them prepared for life after Marshwood High School. And that person also heads up our vocational students. I don't think I could be any happier with the way it's gone so far. And I like to banter with them. They like to banter back. But we've had some real success. We've had some groups in here. We've had some kids in here. We've had some different colleges and representatives and workforce come in and meet with our kids. And it's really, what I would say, headed in a great direction. It takes time. It takes time for kids to get used to a new system, but it has really gone well. So they've thrown together just a short little presentation of some of the things that they do that maybe I've missed. But it's definitely want to welcome Kyle Lonting, who heads up this space, and then Lindsay Edson, who is the department chair.
Hi, everyone. So we put together a little slideshow for you today to give some updates for this year, and obviously we continue to grow and expand, but this is just a little bit about what we've been up to. So just some new roles. Ms. Wilkie's out on maternity leave for the rest of the year, so we have Kelly O'Brien stepping in. She's doing a great job. So she will be in, she just started a few weeks ago, and she'll be here for the rest of the year. Obviously, Ms. Longtime has taken over the college career counselor position, and she works with all of our career tech students. And then Ms. Littlefield is also heading out on maternity leave for around 8 weeks between February and April. We're not quite sure yet if we'll have a substitute or not. We have an interview coming up, so at a minimum, we will cover from within. So it's going to be a very busy spring, to say the least. We have transformed our hub. If you haven't been up to upstairs Depot, I welcome you to take a walk up there. It's really wonderful. We've been trying to get it together for the last couple years, but it's really in a great space. We have a couple workstations for students, a little lounge area, and we have lots of different things, fidgets and different coloring books, and it's just a really welcoming space for students and even teachers to come and take a break. So we use that. It's very heavily used throughout the day for students that need a break or just need somewhere to wait for their counselor to be ready for them, and things like that. So that is our vision has finally come to life. Certainly down here in the Career Center as well. Again, we're continuing to grow, but we certainly have this full workshop area over here with Ms. Longtime, some workstations, and we're continuing to envision this space, but it's really coming together as a new place for our students to get information and come and gather together to hear different topics and different resources from the community come in and speak with them. Another thing that we've done is we've updated our school profile. So our school profile is something that gets sent to every college and university along with the student's transcript, and it's a quick snapshot of Marshwood High School. So every high school is required to have a profile. It includes different data about our students, our SAT scores, our average GPAs, what kind of classes we offer, the size, and things like that. So what we noticed is our profile was a little outdated, so we did some research with local colleges and universities to what they want in a school profile, and also local high schools. What does York's look like? What does Nobles look like? And we've revamped our entire profile. So again, this goes out to every college and university. And what we've really heard back from colleges is that it's much more organized, it's easier to read. And the biggest piece that we've heard from schools is that the number one thing that they're looking for is a student's rigor of the classes that they've taken and how they've done in those courses. So we've provided as much of that information in our curriculum on our school profile as possible. Another thing that we continue to enhance and explore different ways to connect students with early college. As you know, through the Aspirations program, students are able to take early college classes for free. So last year, we had around 76 students take classes, which was 121 courses, 343 credits, and a savings of over $75,000 for our students. This year, and this is an estimation because we do have add drop happening right now with spring courses, and this doesn't include summer classes, but we are already up to 148 students, 210 courses, and a total of 635 credits, which is an approximate savings of almost $140,000. So it's pretty amazing. The other thing that this doesn't include is we have agreements with SRTC and Dover that our students doing career tech programs are also getting college credit through their programming, and that isn't even included in these numbers. The other piece we're expanding that doesn't count in this as well is something that they call concurrent classes. So dual enrollment is when students take the course through the community college or college directly. Concurrent classes is when we run our own curriculum, but our work with YCCC or SMCC to offer our students college credit by taking it here in our building with our teachers. So right now we have 5 courses that this year started for the first time that they could get college credit. We're running a YCCC English Comp 101 in-house. And there's 4 math classes, AP Stats, AP Calc, Honors Pre-Calculus, and Advanced Algebra. So those 4 math classes our students are currently in are also registered as a college student and will get college credit at the end of the year. Our goal is to potentially add a music appreciation course and continue to grow as much in-house as possible so we break down barriers for students to have access to early college classes. So we're really, really excited about that as well.
So,
Yes.
a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
40,000 in savings, is that to students?
That's to students. So
That would have paid toward college.
exactly.
Okay.
And every college is different how they take the credits. Usually at a minimum, they take it as an elective credit. For some students, they'll move on to, instead of English 101, they can jump to the next level. They don't have to take that. Some students can take 4 a semester instead of 5. So they'll work with an advisor in college to see how those can benefit them. But at the end of the day, it's money that they didn't have to pay in order to take it.
That's probably $150 credit.
I was gonna say, this is based on, what is that, or $217 per credit, which is an estimation because each of, so those 4 schools that we highlighted down below, those are the schools that we're pulling from, that are part of the Aspiration program that our students are currently accessing, and that is the average cost per credit. I didn't do out the math of the actual, like, this many, so just on average, with these schools, you're looking at about $217 per credit, so when you multiply that. So it's still a big estimation.
Too, Lindsay, like those 5 classes you just listed that
Yes.
are concurrent, do kids have to do anything special to get the college credit, or if they're enrolled in that class, they'll automatically have it?
As long as they're enrolled, our teachers worked carefully with Angie Littlefield in our department to sign up for the college portal as well. So they're sort of both enrolled in the college class and our class. They'll automatically get that. Yep.
That's awesome.
Communication with those colleges, communication with those colleges to make sure we are meeting their standard was done.
Prior. Yep.
The sign-up process was super easy. I think, my daughter had everything. I got her email to approve it. It was completely simple and well organized. I'm wondering, how does this data compare to COVID and pre-COVID? Or Kyle, I think I'm just going to assume this is all the center here, right? Like,
No, I would say this is a collective effort amongst our department. So this
right. No, but I mean, like, do you think that can you attribute the growth to having this center, like, or is like how was the data prior to?
So the data we presented last year, and I don't remember the specifics off the top of my head, so I apologize, but I know when we came in here last year, we talked about that the numbers that we're presenting right now from last year were a huge jump from the years prior because COVID absolutely there was a change. So I think we are right now with where we're projected to be going this year. If I remember correctly, and I can pull the data and follow up with you, but these numbers are higher than pre-COVID at this point.
I would say that we started to do this work before we came up with the concept of a career center.
Oh.
And then the two together started to run.
Okay.
I think too, pre-COVID, most of our students that did dual enrollment were traveling to campus because the number of online classes was minimal. COVID made it so that pretty much any class a student wants to take is now available online. So I think it's a combo of accessibility and then certainly Kyle's role and just us really pushing this out to students through curriculum has made a big difference too.
So I would say the good news is that it was very easy for your daughter or for anybody to actually enroll in this class. This is to get a class registered and offered, is you're looking at a 6 to 9 month process to coordinate, find the best college to link it up with, make sure the curriculums, we need to do site visits, make sure all the things are in place to actually get one class up. It takes a long time to get one. Oh, so other great thing that we've been able to do is we've been pushing into grades much sooner than we normally would. So to date, we have met with every single grade level at this point, really outlining for those grades in the small group setting rather than in a large auditorium. We've broken down into groups of 30 to 40 students at a time, presenting to them on what is the things you need to be focused on right now based on your grade. So what are the first steps you need to be doing? Modeling for them, here's the first step, here's your resource to be able to do it, here's how you're going to deep dive in based on their grade level and what they should be focusing on at this point in time. All of these, once we do that meeting with the students too, we follow up to families so that families are getting a letter with here's the things that we just discussed, here's the presentation that we just offered, here's some points or tips, again, depending on the student and their grade level, what they need to be aware of. So that communication follows home. As soon as we've done it with students, it's posted on the website, it goes in the newsletter, and it's available for students and families to access at all points. We also hosted our fall college and career fair. So we had 67 representatives from the colleges, militaries, and career employers to be able to meet with students. So this was grades 10 through 12 took place in this. We did a lot of pre-work. So 11th and 12th graders in advisory were given an opportunity to preview ahead of time who was coming so that they could do some research so that they could best be prepared, provided them with resources on what are the questions that you should be asking, how do you approach these conversations. 10th grade was a little bit different, really structured that experience for them more. So provided two advisories, they had a career exploration mini unit that they did, where then a student had to pick a career that they wanted to outline for themselves, and then had to follow a pathway in the fair that day. So they were, based on the career they picked, which pathway was going to make the most sense, whether that was going to college, joining the military, or going straight to work. And then they had a set of questions that they needed to specifically ask at 2 to 3 different tables to get that information as an experience of how do I navigate these types of conversations. So all in all, the fair was amazing and a really great opportunity for students, but it was also a really great opportunity for all these representatives to see us. And we received incredible feedback following it of just how engaged our students were, how prepared, how well-versed they were. And I think that speaks to a lot of the pre-work that we did, and then leaves a really lasting impression because the people, the representatives there from colleges, those are the people who are going to be reading our students' applications later on. The employers will be the ones hiring them. The recruiters are the ones helping them through the process. So really building those relationships was really, really important for us.
Kyle, before you take further, I love that comment at the top. Without question, the most prepared group of students I've met with in a long time. Students are engaged and well thought out and intentional questions.
So in addition to that, we've also had some opportunities for one-on-one or small groups. So we've had 12 different colleges come and visit in this room, and they met with students, like I said, in either small groups, one-on-ones, either providing some particular questions or giving full informational presentations on their college and what they have to offer. Also taking a step back to be able to say like, hey, here's how you would approach this conversation, really breaking down that barrier because it can be really intimidating sitting with an admissions counselor for the first time. We have 5 on-the-spot application days, so 3 of these have already happened. We have 2 that are upcoming, but what an on-the-spot application is, it's an opportunity for a senior to sit down with that representative one-on-one. They bring their transcript, they bring their application, and they have an actual dialogue about the application and go through that process. They get their admissions decision on the spot, and they get their merit award on the spot. So just a really incredible opportunity to go from a 2D piece of paper into a real life human being as a part of the admissions process, which is just invaluable. We've also done some career exploration with students. So took a group of seniors over to the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. We did some pre-work. So with those seniors that we brought, we did work on what are the careers at the shipyard that most interest you. And then I worked with the shipyard to build a tour that was specific to them and their interests. So in total, we got to visit 3 different sites while we were on the shipyard that day. We visited the shipwrights, the lifting and handling, and the transducers. And then I will also mention, our kids were so engaged, and the leaders that we had on our trip that day were so impressed. We actually got to do some other secret stuff that we can't talk about. But it was cool. The kids were able to do hands-on. They were doing experiences with sonar. I think I can say sonar. We did some sonar experiences. We got to take a full tour of the shipyard and really go places that we wouldn't have normally been allowed to go. And that was all based on the fact that the kids were just so engaged, present, and asking really appropriate in-depth conversations or in-depth questions. We built an alumni connection. So every single site we went to was a brand new Marshwood alumni. So then they got to have a true experience about what would I give myself for advice? And that just has so much deeper meaning when you've literally walked the same hallway. So it really hit the kids deep. We got into conversations above and beyond the shipyard. We started talking about what is a job versus a career, what are benefits, how is that in this process, and really just had a very in-depth experience at the shipyard. We also went to Pratt & Whitney, another really great opportunity where we connected with a Marshwood alumni and got to see how a jet was built, jet engine parts from start to finish. Also got to continuing with that concept of it's more than just a job, it's a career. Got to have a full presentation on their day 1 program, which is basically from the day that you are hired, they will immediately start paying for your education if that's what you want. So again, having those bigger conversations about how do you make a decision about what career you're going to pursue, what are the pros and cons of each of those places. We also brought back the ASVAB, so that hasn't happened in Marshwood in a long time. So the ASVAB is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. Very well known as a military entrance exam. So for those students who are looking to go into the military, just such an advantage to be able to take that high stakes test here on your home ground where you're feeling most comfortable. What I think the ASVAB isn't necessarily as known for, but is a really incredible tool when it comes to career exploration. So it really dials down deep and gives you solid results related to your skills and your knowledge, and then compares that to careers and opportunities for yourself. So we got to do work with a group of students on how do you prepare to take the ASVAB, what's your study test, what's your test taking skills, all of that, and then the post work of, okay, so now you have this information, what are you going to do with it, and what are your next steps? We've also had, I'm very proud to say, every single branch of the military come visit, including the Space Force, which they don't get out very often. So again, speaking to just, I think we've done a really good job as a department promoting our students are really important. We want you here. We have students that you need to see.
The other piece that we're trying to expand and always continue to do is communication. And that's our top priority with students, with families, really making sure that everyone at home knows what we're doing and what students are getting on a daily basis. So we continue to do our monthly newsletter. Our website is updated on the daily. And as Kyle mentioned before, every presentation we do, we send out to families. And we're thinking we might go into the social media realm as well. We had a Facebook page like a million years ago, and we just have been focused on this piece, but we do feel like we are offering presentations during conferences and all these things, and we're just not getting people in the door. And I don't know if that's, pre-COVID, like our financial aid night would be busting at the seams, and now we're getting like 10 or 12 people. And we don't know if that's because there's so many things online that are available, people don't want to come in, but that is something that we're trying to do, is because we want people to come and really experience all this wonderful curriculum. So we are looking at how else can we get to families and to students, and maybe social media might be the next piece for us. But again, the newsletter, there's also we have Added to our website is a career center tab there's a calendar for all the career happenings. Like everything is online at the fingertips of everybody. A next piece coming up in our already busy spring is transitions. So we have 8th grade family night coming up on March 14th, which was a huge success last year. We're going to continue to do the same model where we'll have a half an hour in the auditorium with 8th grade families. And then we will have student-led tours, and then in the cafeteria, we will have tables set up with different organizations and sports, and families can walk around and just try to get them involved and comfortable in this space. The other piece that is new is we have revamped our program of studies. So our program of studies historically has been this really, really long document that has been around for ages. And so we've revamped it and created a website. So we'll be launching it this year for the first time. So we're really hoping that this is easier for students and families to navigate. We felt like students really weren't accessing the program of studies because it was so daunting, but it's broken up into different subjects. And then we have slideshows for every single grade with how to navigate course selection, what they should be thinking about when picking courses. And we'll have all the forms and everything all available on the website to send out to families as well. So that's new for this year. Some other fun things that we have been doing lately. Miss LaBeth has been running mindful midterm stress relief every day. Well, it started today. We were supposed to be yesterday. So every day in between that midterm, we have couple hour block. And especially for students, underclassmen that really can't come and go for open campus, they can go up to her room. She's been doing glitter jars and some rock painting and just some fun things. So she's been doing that this week. We're continuing to reach out to local community organizations that can help with food insecurity. We have made some new connections lately that have been helping us provide snacks to students during the school day, but also have us provide more information to families on how they can get fresh produce and different things in their home if they need that extra support. So continuing to build that community and those communications is really important to us. Another fun thing we did is we did a holiday giving where every Friday our staff wears jeans and donates $20. And with that money, we were able to give gift cards to 45 students that needed a little brightness in their holiday. And we were really happy to give that to them. And they were so appreciative, them and their families, of that little extra during the holiday break.
So we certainly talked about a lot of the things that have happened already this year. Let's talk about the things that are upcoming in the future. So like we talked about already, career tech is about to be booming within the sophomore class especially. So in the sophomore presentation that we had done earlier this year with students, it was really about what are career clusters, how do we find the pathways that we think we're interested in, because then that now dovetails into the second half where next week they'll have presentations from our Sanford and our Dover regional tech centers to come in to talk about, okay, so here's what you could do with this and here's some different opportunities. So like I said, next week we have those big presentations. We put together student panels so that they can also hear the perspective of what's it like to be a career tech student? What did that look like for me time management wise? What did the classroom look like so that students can be supported in making their decision if they want to apply to a career tech program? We also will be taking a group of students to Sanford and Dover separately for tours of the facilities so they can have those conversations with the instructors and really see the learning in live action. And then recognizing that it is an extremely competitive process, we'll be holding down, and the Career Center will be holding some application support. So in order to get into a career tech program, it's a very rigorous application that they need to complete. It's actually even stepped up a notch since last year. There's additional essays that they need to complete. So having time where students can drop in, get some support, make sure that they're really representing themselves the best way in their application, talk through the choices. For those students who are selected to interview, be doing interview skills and prep to make sure that they're prepared for that. Additionally, some more career exploration opportunities. So with our partnership that is developing with the shipyard, like I said, they were just so impressed with our students between the college fair and the tour. They wanted to continue to work with us. So we've invented what I'm calling a mini fair, which is kind of like think college fair meets speed dating. So basically in this room, I know, right? It's fun, I promise. So what we did is just kind of thinking about what are some of the really big careers that are out there right now. So the first one that came to mind is non-destructive testing, or NDT. It's a career path that's really growing exponentially and in a lot of different industries. Also happens to be at the shipyard. So they're going to come in for a 2-day stretch. They're going to meet with every single freshman and sophomore and give them an experience where they get to go through 5 or 6 different hands-on experiences. They're going to bring in their toys. It's going to be super fun. But basically, they'll do a quick teach to connect it to what the students learned in their class. So we've connected the curriculum.
they'll connect into the outside world, and then the students will have 5 or 6 different hands-on experiences where they can actually put to use the things that they're learning, take it out of the textbook and apply it to real life. The math department does, or excuse me, so that will be science. That's going to be freshman science and chemistry, all students that will go through it. I just solidified the email today. Another department on the shipyard heard what we were doing, got really jealous and said, I want to do that too. So they've reached out, and the math department doesn't know it, but I'm going to be talking to them this week. They want to partner with our math department. So again, thinking about another big career that's really booming right now, lots of different industries. How can we take what we've learned in geometry, apply it to the real world settings, and give students those hands-on experiences? There's another company which needs to remain nameless at this point in time, but working on a relationship with them because they're very interested in working with us for really teaching students about coding and getting into the cybersecurity world. So another opportunity where we're going to have a panel of students, or a panel experience that can come in, give some real hands-on experience to students to connect the learning into a career pathway for themselves. So that is that. We also have junior preview days, which we're going to do. So we've committed to 5 different colleges right now. They're going to come for one-on-one meetings with juniors. So kind of think about the application on the spot, except as a junior. So they're going to be able to come in with their transcript and sit and meet with that admissions rep and have some really solid feedback on, okay, here's what I would like to see out of you in the next 6 to 9 months to make sure that your application is as strong as it can be. Oh, you're thinking about this major, you want to think about this, and really give that feedback so that 6-9 months from now when a student's applying to college, they have all of those experiences and knowledge to make sure that they're best prepared themselves for that. Also working on pushing in with social studies department on getting some more financial literacy opportunities. So again, bringing in an outside company who's going to be able to talk not just about what is financial literacy, how do we understand what a student loan is, and APR and credit cards and all of that, but then also connecting it to that career piece of like, here's my pathway and this is the career, this is the choices I made that brought me to the career that I'm able to have these conversations with you today. Like Lindsay already talked about, we've got 8th grade family night coming up, course selection, always looking for ways to continue to grow our alumni resources. I have a tracker that I'm hoping to roll out so that we can get some more alumni speakers in above and beyond just the ones that we're making anyways, the connections we're making. And also we have another college and career fair coming up. So we're going to try that one at nighttime and see how that goes. We've paired it with a financial planning night. So from 4 to 6 o'clock in the gymnasium, we'll have colleges, military representatives, and employers all looking to meet with students and families. And then immediately following that in the library, we will have the financial aid presentation. How do you prepare for sending your student to college? Then looking to just continue to do different workshops. So I think I forgot to talk about it, but certainly for seniors this fall when they were getting ready to do their applications, had some really good success with having drop-ins here. So just certain days of the month, any student during their study hall could come drop in, get some support on how do I fill out my Common App? Does my essay look good? Is this all working out? So continuing to do that through the senior year. We have 2 different scholarship workshops planned where a person's coming in to give a full presentation on how do you find scholarships, how do you apply for them, having some follow-up workshops on let's tweak that essay a little bit, or how are we doing this. Same thing with financial aid letters. Those are going to be coming out now that FAFSA's doing what it's doing. Financial aid letters will be coming really soon. So how do I understand my financial aid letter? Because this college makes it look like this college makes it look like this, and it's really overwhelming. So just continuing to have different drop-in opportunities for students to be able to access that support in smaller settings as they need it. And that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well done.
Any questions?
Could you repeat all that, please?
Of companies come in, when does that take place, during the day, during blogs, or during the class time, when does that happen?
Yeah, so been trying to do a little bit of both because class time is very important. So is this. We have advisory. Advisory is ultimately about 20 minutes when all is said and done, though, so that's not necessarily giving time. So I'm trying to do a little bit of everything right now, and really just seeing which is going to stick. I think we have amazing teachers who I know certainly for the college visits, they'll usually give us an hour of time, and it's
on their time, not on my time. So teachers are amazing. When a student says, I have this appointment set up, I do need to miss class, it's a great life skill for them to learn too. So I really think my answer is yes, all of the things, because it really is. It's dependent on the company, the employer, the representative, what's going to work best. Usually I can push back, like the shipyard, like I said, has been amazing. And I'm pushing back. They told me I could have one day. I got two, you know, and I think it's really just about sitting back and being able to say, what are we trying to do? What is the goal of this action? How can we best execute it? And then rolling it out versus just impulsively. Rather than just impulsively kind of slapping it in somewhere.
I think it's really important to point out though that sentence alone, what Kyle just talked about, is a huge shift in culture where we were 8 years ago. There was a time where Marshall High School, if a college came in during the school day, the answer was no, they were not allowed to meet with students. They would not take them out of class. Like that's a factual statement. And so now of this trying to find that balancing act where class time is important, but your career, your aspirations, those things are also important. Finding that balance. I mean, so that alone is, talk about a cultural shift. That's a big, big moment. So appreciate that. Yeah. What? I'm not making that up. That Lindsay, so.
This is so exciting. It's wonderful.
Yeah, good stuff.
Great job.
So the challenge now is we've got Kyle and Lindsay running with all these things and getting kids. It's they're not used to it. It's new, this career center thing. So getting them caught up with what's available for them, the opportunities, and how to get them on that pathway. Last thing I'll mention is we're also trying to set up sophomore college visits, probably the first week of May, and get kids the opportunity to choose between 3 or 4 different institutions. We did it last year, it went well, but we went a little late last year as colleges were getting out, so we're trying to.
Can I just ask, do you guys work with the ELO, with Mr. Scully with the ELO to help sort of identify kids who might be a good fit, or
Yep.
what's like you're
And
collaborating
he runs
with him?
one of his sessions in here.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
okay,
So I would say that's my office, that's his office.
okay,
I think we talk to each other more than I talk to my spouse
Yeah.
sometimes. Just, we're collaborating a lot, we're really looking at different ways, because it really is, all of us working collaboratively together
Yeah.
is what's going to help to put each of these pieces in place. And sometimes that means it goes a little bit slower, but I think again, it's about getting it intentionally and making sure it's set up. So certainly him coming on the Pratt trip was really great, because then that connects to the day one educational opportunities. So then how can we bring Pratt in the same ways that we're starting to bring the shipyard in? How can we continue to bring these outside community sources in more to create opportunities for students, but then also very clear cut pathways for students.
great. Thank you guys so much.
Yes,
Great.
this is wonderful.
Thank you. You are welcome to go. You don't need to stay. I'm sure.
Later.
Next on my agenda is we had a budget workshop prior to the beginning of this meeting. And so I had a great conversation, talked about a little bit about some of the things that are kind of out there for us right now that are on the horizon. We mentioned the September 2006 full day pre-K program that's on the horizon that's going to be required by the state of Maine. Also talked about the new FMLA program that's going through the state of Maine, which is going to require, it appears right now, is a 1% contribution from its every person's employer. And then we kind of dove in a little bit more into kind of some areas that maybe we might like to see some growth. And so really talked about how do we create more language experiences at our middle school was kind of a big idea. Are we maximizing our school day? Is it the right timing? Kind of having that conversation, which obviously can be a bigger conversation, but it's a really healthy conversation to always kind of reflect on those types of things. How do we create more out-of-school experiences for students? So we just heard about going to Pratt & Whitney or going to the shipyard. How do you create more experiences like that for students to be able to see kind of what they're learning in a textbook live in action? Years ago, the example that we talked about was 7th grade used to read the book Liddy, and everybody would go to the Lowell Mills, and they would be able to see really, when they talk about Liddy, the houses where they lived and what it was like to live in the mill, and so really those types of things. And then talked about just some technology offerings. How do we look at that certainly from an artificial intelligence mindset of really kind of getting more up to date with those types of things, and also creating some professional development opportunities for our staff around the use of AI. It doesn't have to be necessarily a bad word. And so how is that helpful? And then kind of going back a little bit to my days in high school, I feel like, but really kind of helping kids, are they maximizing their ability to type or to be able to communicate using a computer? I mean, I think we see kids henpeck a lot, or they're really good thumb typers, but I'm going to go back to my day with my Piker and Elite typewriter with my hands covered up typing. I mean, those types of skills. Is there things that we could be doing to help students down the road become more efficient learners if we're relying on technology more? So it is a big idea. And then kind of to tie into what Kyle was talking about a little bit, of looking at that idea of real world application for schools. So that budgeting, fiscal responsibility, of understanding how the stock market works. How does money work? How can money work for you? Being able to have that financial literacy. We're looking for some opportunities to grow that as well. So I thought it was a great conversation. Did I miss anything? But it's super helpful for me as I start to kind of finish up our budget process. And as you know, that first Wednesday in March will be the budget presentation. And then at that point, we'll have a series of budgetary meetings to be able to discuss that in greater detail. Just some great news. Great news. It's great. It is good news, but there's a cost. Unfortunately, our We the People group will not be going to Washington, D.C. this year from the middle school. And so, I think our kids are so highly involved in it, we weren't able to put it together this year. Last year, I believe they did it remotely. They may be doing that again this year. I'm not sure. The plan is to do it again next year. But because of that, I was able to secure $2,000 that was kind of set aside for those kind of experiential learning experiences for students to put that towards the Denmark trip. And so I talked to Mr. Livingston today and just let him know that that's kind of a good startup for him and as well. And he also talked a little bit about trying to find a travel agency to work through to kind of really streamline getting that number of kids on the same flight at the same places at the same time. Trying to get some support around that. And my question for him was like, how many kids are we really talking about? It's kind of one of those things like, yeah, I'd love to go, but then all of a sudden, so all of a sudden, 25 goes down to 13. So I think he's really trying to get an idea what those numbers would look like just to be able to kind of get a scope of it. So we have some solutions to be able to help with that. So I'm going to go to the student report. Then I have one other thing to say after that. So James, go right ahead.
For sports, boys basketball, they played against Freiburg on the 5th, losing 47-52. On the 9th, the boys pulled out a win against Brunswick, 46-35. On the 12th, they played Freeport, losing 36-48. And then on the 15th, they lost 44-68. Girls basketball played Freiburg on the 4th, winning 52-44. They played Deering 2 days later, winning 55-27. Unfortunately, they lost against Brunswick on the 9th, 43-61, but they pulled through with a win on the 12th against Freeport, 50-47. The Nighthawks the boys beat Biddeford 4-3 this past Thursday, and the Lake Region game has been rescheduled for later this week. Indoor track had a meet this past Saturday up at USM. All teams performed really great. Ski team had a GS race this past Monday up at Pleasant Mountain. The race went really great. 4 girls finished in the top 14 and 3 boys finished in the top 20. Hadley Pruitt and Quinn McGuire took first and second overall. And ski team has 3 meets this upcoming week, 1 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and 1 on Friday. So pretty awesome.
Wow. Student government doesn't have any meetings this week, just with midterm, they're not scheduling. We're currently working on the winter carnival in February, and we're also planning to try to get the wellness committee back up and running. We're hoping to work with school counselors to focus on students' mental health for midterms and for later on this year. Most clubs have postponed their meetings this week as well to give students time to study for midterms. So more to come on that next week. But I do want to give a huge shout out to Nellie Young, who initiated her own learning project through Rotary. She contacted the Rotary Club in Peru and actually is traveling there in the spring to help build a preschool. So I have a meeting with Nellie this week to try to see how our Interact Club can help fundraise and help out with that. Super excited for all of that, so more information to come on that.
Awesome. And the last thing I wanted to mention is probably my least favorite topic is snow days. So just contrary to popular belief, that is not a decision that's made at 5:30 in the morning and just kind of flip a coin. It's like a 48-hour process of trying to figure it out. So you're watching the weather. And so this last storm was really particularly hard. It's probably the hardest storm to really get your head around of my 5 years as superintendent. The forecast went from, a dusting to an inch, to 1 to 3 inches, from 3 to 6 inches, to 4 to 7 inches, and 4 to 7 inches with the possibility of freezing rain, turning over to freeze. So there was a lot of variables, like literally up until that morning. And so I just want to remind people that my goal is always to send a communication out at 5:45. That's the target. This last day that was delayed, there was an issue with ThrillShare that we think we figured out. And so that message was slightly late. I didn't want it to be that way, but that was the way it was. I will say that decision was made later than I typically would make it because the fluctuation in the report. We do work with our local DPWs. We work with the weather stations. We work with the other superintendents in the area. I mean, there's a litany of people that are involved in those conversations. And so I just want to remind people that in the event that they're not feel comfortable with the decision to have school and not to have school, they always have the prerogative to keep their children home, and we would excuse those absences when it's weather related. That's really important for people. Just to be able to keep that, in mind. And again, I'm always going to err on the side of caution. Success for me is very different, is to keep kids safe. And so it does concern me that when you have young drivers driving in a particularly difficult snow situation, I feel a great deal of responsibility for that. And so I take that very seriously. So I think, you always want to kind of keep the perspective of what we're trying to do. The conversation comes up periodically around early releases, and I just want the board to know how I feel about that and just how I approach things. If I had a hierarchy of things that I would want to do, obviously number one is have a regular school day. That's the top. That's what we all want. 2 would be a late start. A late start is least disruptive. We still get a school day in. Kids can still get here and get lunch. They still have a quality day of education. The next would be cancellation of school for me. And then the last thing would be an early release. I think that's an incredible strain put on elementary school families, where all of a sudden you're getting a call out of the blue. You have to be home in X amount of time. Our bus drivers can't drop elementary school kids off into an unoccupied stop or an unoccupied home. And so that's how I approach it. And so I have a difficult time and want to save those early releases from those dire situations. So on Monday, although getting to school would have been very easy, I felt like, from 11 to 3 was the heart of the storm, and working with DPW, they were really concerned about being able to keep up with it at that point in time. If it's a lot of snow over a long period of time, it's fairly easy for the DPW to stay on top of. When it gets tricky is when it's a shorter window with a high amount of snow. Even though you go outside and be like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. Of staying on top of that. So to release students at 11:30 to 12:30, that would be the time that we would do that for an early release. We were really putting them in a really treacherous situation. And again, at the end of the school day, from that 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock was really not a great time. Because remember, our buses are running at 2 o'clock to get to the high school, middle school, and then they really finish up their runs at 4:30 or even 5 o'clock if it's a late bus. So it's not just a matter of school gets out at 3:30, what's the weather at 3:30? There's a bigger picture to look at. So I just think it's always important to reiterate the seriousness of that. I mean, obviously, we want to have school every single day, but we need to keep people safe. So that's the mindset that I use. So any questions about that?
None.
Okay, and that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. We have no correspondence upon which to report, so we'll move into the reports of the committees. Finance and Facilities met earlier this evening. I'll do the numbers. Heather, you want to handle the rest of it? That's great, thank you. So the district dashboard, by the end of December, the general fund cash balance was right where we want it, in the green, which was good. The budget revenue and expenditures through that period of time are all very close to each other. We are 49.3% spent against budget at a point end of December where we're exactly 6 months or halfway through the year. So that's a really good number. We're just a little bit of cushion there, but we're right where we wanted to be. Adult education received a subsidy payment and is now very much in the black right now, and we'll spend that down the glide slope to zero by the end of the year. Food service got a supply chain assistance payment that brought them back up over $100,000 to the good, so that's all good as well. Federal grants are still running behind, so we're showing that as net negative. And there's some process complications that are resulting in the delays there, but we'll work through them and get that money ultimately. Yeah, that's, I think, I guess I wanted to mention, Ryan, you told us that we're now getting our payments from the state via ACH, via direct deposit, which is awesome. So we get them on the 22nd of the month versus the 28th. And just to avoid any confusion with problems with the mail, going forward, we're going to pick up the town checks when they're available from each of the two towns, just to make sure that we get that money in place when it needs to be in place. So that's all good. I think that's it for the numbers.
All right, so facility update. So the generator grant applications have been filed. If you remember correctly, we mentioned this before, the generator's kind of on the putts here at the high school. We're able to keep it going for another year or two, but we're hopeful that grants will come through. That grant that's filed is at the state level and one's at the federal level at the moment. In terms of transportation update, we have 2 new buses that have arrived last week. The SVPP grant, which is the School Violence Prevention grant, we still need to schedule a meeting with Verkada to do a building walkthrough, just to kind of go do the double check what the final go through for what was done. Our staff did a window film testing. It was performed with an officer here in town who volunteered as Officer
Sprouse, yes.
And we'll review the results of that test with the firearms and so forth at an upcoming meeting. In terms of the service update, we're working with our chief, Karen, who's our chartwell's provider, and Todd, our staff, to provide better support of power interruptions at all of the schools. So like we mentioned before, the high school has a generator that generates electricity for a good portion of our building, but the middle school and the other schools don't have a way necessarily to keep the walk-in refrigerators and freezers moving or going with electricity. So there's a solution that is being worked on, which is we've purchased small portable generators, and those would power the portable refrigerator
Milk coolers, basically.
Coolers.
Yeah, the coolers, yes.
I'm having a hard time here.
Yeah.
Coolers, and that would just prevent staff from having to drive our cold products to the high school refrigerator to keep them cold. So it would just save a lot of time, a lot of effort, and money. Long term, ideally, we'd like to get generators for the other buildings, but right now we're going to work on the high school building the grant, and we'll go back to that soon. I think I got that right. Energy efficiency rates, Affinity is going through. Oh yes, okay, now I'm confusing myself. Sorry. Energy efficiency is actually we're doing the solar credits, and we're generating credits now. So we actually saved about $3,000 in our last electric bill. And then Affinity is the company that installed all of the LED lights and switches and things like that, and I just went through final installation.
You got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot there. Yes.
awful lot there.
Yeah.
You didn't mention the feminine products in the middle school and high
Oh,
school.
I didn't.
You should mention that.
I will mention that, right? Okay, so our staff is working towards doing fittings of dispensers in all of the girls' bathrooms, grades 6 through 12. So those be readily available for girls. that need the main projects. So that will be taken care of shortly.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Ed policy, we have a bunch of policies up tonight for second read. Next meeting is on January 24th. Is there anything else coming out of the Ed policy committee that we need to talk about right now? No? Okay, good. And Wellness SEL will next meet on February 7th. So we'll get an update at that meeting. Okay, that brings us to new business and the aforementioned second reads. Can I have a motion, please, for the second read on JICH?
To approve the second reading and adoption of policy drug use by students.
I'll second Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. No changes from last read?
Correct.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Good, that's 6-0, thank you. Motion, please, with regard to JKD.
I move to approve the second reading and adoption of policy JKD, suspension of students.
Second.
Got it, thank you. Same thing, second read, no changes, comments or questions? All in favor? That is also 6-0, thank you. Motion, please, with regard to JICIA.
To approve the second reading and adoption of policy JICIA, weapons, violence, and school safety.
And Jen, thank you. Same thing, second read, no changes. Yep. Great. Comments or questions? All in favor? 6-0 as well, thank you. Motion, please, with regard to JIC.
Second, Jen?
Jen, thank you. Also, second read, no changes. Comments or questions? All in favor? 6-0. Just ripping through these. That's awesome. Okay, that's it for the second reads. We have a bunch of other motions around various things. May I have a motion, please, to address the transportation for the middle school ski trip?
To approve the South Recreation Department's use of our MS-80 35 transportation for a middle school ski trip on March 6th.
I'll second Rebecca.
Rebecca, thank you. Okay, we have information in our packets. Gunstock. This
Good
is,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah. Comments or questions? All in favor? 6-0. Thank you very much. That's good. Motion, please, with regard to the trip for the high school wrestling team.
Take an overnight trip for state championships at Plymouth High School on February 17th, 2024.
I'll second Rebecca.
Very good. There's information in our packets as well. 25 students going, it looks like.
Yep.
That's good. That's good.
And Coney's in Augusta, for those of you who don't know.
Very good. Comments or questions? All in favor? 6-0. Great, thank you. Motion, please, with regard to the wrestling team taking a trip to the New England qualifiers.
To approve the Marshwood High School wrestling team to take an overnight trip for New England qualifiers at Belfast Area High School on February 23rd, 2024.
I'll second. Oops.
Okay. We'll be staying in Bangor for this.
Yes.
Okay. Same team, same 25?
No, the New England, he may take everybody. The New England qualifies a little bit different because you have
Yeah.
to place a certain place in the state meet.
Yep.
To be able to do like, it's more like an all-state.
Okay. But it looks like
meet.
the
Yep.
whole team is going to go.
Yeah,
to
they may,
support
he
their
may,
teammates.
yeah, they may
Yeah.
go, yes,
Good.
but not everybody may wrestle, so.
Good, good. Comments or questions? All in favor? It's also 6-0. Okay, and last new business involves a nomination, actually a transfer.
Transfer.
May I have a
That's
motion,
correct.
please?
I move to approve the transfer of Sarah Cesario to 504 facilitator / community outreach coordinator, school year 2024 to 2025, Master 17 TBD.
I'll second.
Kate, thank you.
So this this position has been gone through an evolution. So this was originally our transition coach, and then we met, and I shared with you that that was being really difficult to fill, and so we wanted to accomplish a couple of different things. One of them being that in-time alcohol drug counseling meetings with students who may have had an alcohol or drug infraction at the high school or middle school. And so this all ties together. So what's happened is that we're pulling off the chairing the 504 meetings across the district, which is about 100 meetings approximately a year, and that number is growing. From our school counselors are still going to act as the in-house expert and manage the cases on the in-house, but this person is going to come in and manage the 504 meetings for district-wide. So why is that good for us? It provides consistency from building to building. It helps parents transition where sometimes you see, it's hard being like, when I was a middle school principal, you would see like an accommodation saying, making sure this child has a friend at lunchtime. It's awesome, right? But that's not necessarily 504 accommodation. And so really making sure we have fidelity with what each building expects and what that framework was a legal 504 accommodation. So that would be really important. The other part of this is that Sarah will also be our community outreach person. So there's going to be a certain number of nights, I believe it's 12 that we determined, where she would hold family or student meetings to be able to kind of gather input from families. And so for instance, that might be holding a meeting with 5th grade parents at Marshall Great Works School to be able to come in and talk about the transition to Marshall Middle School, have them do a survey, gather feedback, do focus groups to find out what are you worried about? What are the things that you're excited about? What are you concerned about? And then be able to have that information shared with our Marshall Middle School staff so they can kind of build around that and then do a follow-up meeting to say, hey, it's now it's November and they're 6th graders. What was that experience like? And so we can get that feedback. Same thing with kids. What are you nervous about? I'm worried about having a locker. I'm worried about having to be organized. And so be able to get that explicit feedback to be able to provide the staff to better meet the students' needs. And so that will happen. The tricky part with this is that I could not in good conscience fill that position today because I did not want to pull a teacher out of the classroom at the midway point of the year. Sarah's an exceptional math teacher. And so to have those kids adversely impacted in the middle of a semester just did not make any sense to me. Sarah was great about it. What we are going to do is take some of that money. I'm going to do a short-term stipend to be able to start some of the family outreach things this spring to be able to start doing that. Sarah's 100% on board with that. We're also going to take 5 to 10 days over the course of the year to have her work with Drummond and Woodson to get trained on how to be a 504 coordinator, because there's a lot of legalities around that, so that in September when she starts the new position, she'll be ready to go. The TBD around salary is because we are in the middle of contract negotiations and I'm not sure what that amount is going to be. And so I just leave it blank at this point in time, but it would be commensurate with our a negotiated agreement with the QEA. Yep.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So does the 504 facilitator may need to be certified in special ed?
No, they don't. Sarah has her assistant principal certification, so that helps. There's a little bit difference with the 504 piece, so she'll work with Scott, and Scott he's really the district 504 coordinator, but she's really going to give that consistency. One of the things that I think I'm most proud of that we've done in the district is we hired the IEP coordinator position, and that really has been a game changer for principals and for our special education department because it's that consistency. So this is going to be very similar to that. I think those positions are very, very similar. Any questions that the board has? I did a lot of finger tapping. I'm sorry. I did that. I felt like my dad. Okay.
Okay. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you. That concludes our new business and brings us to the building administrator check-in portion of our evening.
Give you a little insight on what it's like to kind of be a high school principal. And what I mean by that is when you start the school year off, you get up and running, you're working with staff, you're working with curriculum department heads, observing teachers, and really up until now, it's very streamlined. It's very, busy, focused, and streamlined. But once you hit January, you start to kind of get hit in 100 different directions of things that are coming up, like the program of studies, sign up for new classes, my mind just goes blank because there's so many things that start to hit you. Well, one of those things hit me last week, and that is the opportunity to nominate a student for the Maine Principals Association Award. Now, that is a senior that honestly, every principal in the state can nominate whoever they choose to nominate. And I don't take that decision lightly. I try to think about a number of characteristics, and I can easily nominate that field down to 10 or 12 seniors to choose from. And what I've tried to do this year and last year is we really pushed to really partner with our student government and to have them feel ownership in the school and have them do a number of things and initiatives to have kids be included in their school. So I kind of gravitate to that a little bit when I make my selection. So this year I've selected to attend with me in Bangor on April 6th, which is one of these things. Rowan Waddell is the recipient. So
Nice.
Rowan and I will go to a luncheon in Bangor, and they feed us. It's a great lunch. They announce all the kids. She'll get a plaque, a picture with me, unfortunately. And you basically have over 100 principals and 100 recipients in attendance in this banquet. And then they draw 10 $1,000 scholarships from the MPA. I've never had a winner, so Rowan, I need a winner.
This is the year.
But it is that way in the life of a principal, as you really start to get spread out into a number of things that are going on, whether it's budget or ultimately graduation coming up that we're starting to talk about and plan for. So just want to give you a little insight and to congratulate Rowan as the recipient.
It's the second year running that we've had somebody who's a student rep on the board.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we have a lot of things going on at the middle school right now. I'll start with our clubs, D&D Club, Dungeons and Dragons, if Mr. Caverly can talk to you about that.
Yes, I can.
Yearbook, Ecology Club, NJHS, Civil Rights Team, Student Council, Theater. Our production of Mean Girls Junior will be coming out next month, so be all prepared for that. Chess Club. So, and our sports are going well. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Pratt, who brought the varsity teams down today to watch our 7th grade boys play, which was really, really cool. For bar, our iTime right now, that's our social emotional time that the kids work. They're working on leadership and their own leadership styles and creating bonds with other people that have the same leadership as them and their peers. So that's coming up. That's what they're doing now. Q2 is ending, so everyone's kind of scrambling to make ends meet for the kids. The 8th grade just finished their great immigration units. I'd like to give a shout out to Jen Balsinger. If you go through our school, she has made our school just like an art walk, and our art from our students is really impressive. So they do an excellent job. So it's really nice. I catch myself just staring at a few things, and they're pretty talented kids. So the other thing that we have going on is our MMS PTO is up and running. They're doing their first fundraiser coming up soon. Bless you. And it's Penny Wars. So each team will have a jug outside of the office, and you can put in pennies. Bless you, Brett. And for your team, if you put in a bunch of pennies and dollars, that's great. But if the other team puts any silver in, it knocks out the points of the other team. So it's a competition. So that'll be really fun because no one at the middle school is competitive. Our core value right now is honesty. And so teachers and staff are looking for students that are presenting that core value within themselves. And each day we start off our announcements with describing what honesty is and what are those attributes and how can you display them. We have our Hawk Pride assemblies every month, but the teachers have taken initiative and staff to create a committee to create a more enlightened, engaging experience for kids. So there'll be competitions, there'll be themes for them, and it's really cool that the teachers stepped up to do that. Our academic support has 14 students in it so far, our after-school academic support. We're still finding the balance of when students can come and when cannot come, and we're already seeing the fruits of their labor, so they're doing a great job. Tony from Bar, our bar coach, is coming tomorrow. He was at the high school today. Oh.
This flight got delayed because of the storm. so we didn't-
Oh, wah, wah. Sorry about that. So hopefully he's there tomorrow for us. We're looking forward to get some feedback from him on our process and how we're doing. So once he gives us that feedback, we'll let you know. We had our band concerts last week. Holy moly. They are fantastic. And I did not do any instruments, but to sit in the class and see that the sixth graders are now learning how to play their music while someone else is on a different note and key and playing together, it was a really great thing to watch the band. So Chris Bison and Matt Taylor did an excellent job for that. And then we're in the process of creating an MMS civil discourse leaders. These are going to be like peer helpers, and their goal, I'm just going to read it so I don't not do it justice. We believe every student can become an upstander, whether by challenging negative stereotypes, standing up to a bully, or encountering civil discourse. Our upstanders will learn about the power of individual choice and explore how each student can participate as citizens to create a more just and compassionate school. So they're going to be working with Jermaine, who comes in, and they are going to start learning how to take these leadership roles and then work with their peers during advisory on how can we spread that and make our community a better place where everyone feels equal and loved and safe to learn. And that is all for me.
Thank you so much.
Very much.
Okay, last thoughts from the board? Okay, in that case, I will entertain a motion, please, to enter into executive session. If someone wants to make that motion, please.
I move to enter into an executive session for the purpose of evaluation of superintendent of schools pursuant to Title I MRSA subsection 4056A.
HM.
Second, Heather.
Heather, thank you.